What's the most disrespectful thing a teacher ever did to you? I was 16, junior year at Lincoln High. My family had just moved from Chicago because my dad lost his job. We went from middle class to barely scraping by in 6 months. I was working nights at Pizza Palace to help pay rent. Most days I'd get home around midnight, crash for a few hours, then drag myself to school exhausted. Mr. Peterson taught AP English. Real fancy guy who wore these expensive suits and always talked about his master's degree from some private college. He had this thing where he'd pick on kids he thought were beneath him. One Tuesday morning, I fell asleep during his lecture about Shakespeare. I'd worked until 1 a.m. the night before, plus I was trying to finish reading Hamlet for his class. Peterson slammed his hand on my desk so hard it echoed through the whole room. "Wake up, Tyler," he yelled. "Sorry if working people's literature is too boring for you." The whole class turned to stare at me. My face was burning red. "Maybe you should focus more on your education and less on whatever minimum wage job is keeping you up at night," I tried to explain quietly. "Mr. Peterson, I was just tired. I work to help my family pay bills." "That's not my problem," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "If you can't handle basic responsibilities like staying awake in class, maybe you don't belong in advanced placement." Ashley, this popular girl who sat behind me, snickered. "Yeah, maybe you should transfer to regular English with all the other slackers." Peterson didn't tell her to stop. He just smiled and kept going with his lecture like nothing happened. After class, he pulled me aside. "Tyler, I'm going to be honest with you. You're clearly not college material. My AP students go to places like Harvard and Yale. You're working at a pizza shop. I need this class for my college applications." I said, "College?" He laughed. "Son, community college maybe. Don't waste everyone's time pretending you belong here." I went home that day and cried in my room. My mom found me and made me tell her what happened. She wanted to call the school, but I begged her not to. I was already the poor kid. I didn't want to be the poor kid whose mommy fought his battles too. For the next 3 weeks, Peterson kept making little comments. When I'd answer questions correctly, he'd act surprised. "Well, look at that, Tyler actually read the assignment." When I turned in essays, he'd hand them back with more red ink than black text. Always gave me C's and D's, even when other kids said my work was better than theirs. The worst part was other students started treating me differently too. Like Peterson's opinion was gospel, and I really was just some dumb working kid who didn't belong. But here's the thing Peterson didn't know. My older brother Austin was home from college for Thanksgiving break. He was majoring in computer science at Northwestern, and he was furious when I told him what was happening. Austin had this idea. He set up his old laptop in my backpack with screen recording software. For 2 weeks, I recorded every single class, every snide comment, every time Peterson called on me just to embarrass me, every time he'd praise other students for work that was worse than mine. The breaking point came right before Christmas break. Peterson assigned this huge project worth 40% of our semester grade. Write a 15-page analysis of any Shakespeare play. I picked Macbeth and worked my butt off. Stayed up until 3 a.m. for 5 straight nights, used sources from the library, interviewed my brother's English professor over video call. It was the best work I'd ever done. 2 weeks later, Peterson handed back our grades. Most kids got A's and B's. Ashley got an A, and she literally just copied stuff from Wikipedia. My paper came back with a big red D written on the front page. In the margins, Peterson had written things like lacks sophistication and demonstrates limited understanding, but I had recorded him grading papers during class the day before. On the recording, you could hear him telling Ashley her paper was excellent. Then he picked up mine, barely skimmed the first page, and said out loud, "Same garbage as always." He never actually read my paper, just gave me a bad grade because he'd already decided I was stupid. Austin helped me edit together a 5-minute video of Peterson's worst moments. His snide comments, his obvious favoritism, him literally admitting he didn't read my work. We posted it on TikTok with the caption, "When teachers abuse their power." Within 24 hours, it had 50,000 views. By New Year's, it hit 300,000 views. Parents were sharing it, former students were commenting with their own Peterson horror stories, and the local news picked it up. The school board called an emergency meeting. Turns out Peterson had complaints going back years, but administrators always protected him because parents thought he was prestigious. When classes started back up in January, Peterson was gone. The school said he decided to pursue other opportunities, but everyone knew he got fired. His replacement, Ms. Williams, actually read my Shakespeare paper and changed my grade to an A. Said it was some of the best analysis she'd seen from a high school student. I ended up getting into 3 different state universities with scholarship money. One of my application essays was about overcoming adversity and standing up to unfair authority. Peterson probably thought he was just putting some working class kid in his place. Instead, he got himself fired and helped me get into college.